Your first problem is to work on this spreadsheet calculating bonuses for salespeople and format that spreadsheet so it looks something like this and build a chart so it looks like this. The key to this is to know when to use relative versus absolute values here, addressing. So I'm going to come here. There's a real nice shortcut you can use for calculating the sum of a row, as we're doing here. See auto sum up here? You can sum something up, you can average, count numbers. In this case, I'm just going to sum. It automatically figures out what I want to sum to. So it's figured, well, there's numbers before that. That must be what we're going to do. So he sums that up. There's our total sales. Now I can take that number and just catch the very bottom. See that little tiny rectangle there? And I can use that, drag that on down, and that will copy that formula all the way to the bottom. As far as bonus rates, now bonus is going to be the bonus rate times the total sales. Here's the bonus rate, here's the total sales. Now here you're going to have to use absolute addressing because you're going to copy the formula you come up with down, and if you just use relative, it isn't going to work right. Let me show you that. So start with an equals, total sales times bonus rate. Now that'll give me the right formula without changing anything for the first person, Billy. But if I attempt to copy that down, it's going to give me nonsense. So how to fix that is to come into my formula here, come to the one item that I want to make a absolute, and press F4 on my keyboard. Now when I do that, you notice it puts a $sign in front of the C, a $sign in front of the 2. That makes it absolute. Now once I've done that, I can drag that on down. You can read a little bit more about that in your book. Same thing with the tax rate. And I can just drag this bottom one down too. Just copying that formula all the way down. Notice here that it's pointing to I-27, which is the total sales for Teddy, but it's still pointing to C2 up there, and that's what absolute addressing does. So let's give another example here. Tax rate is bonus times the tax rate. So it's what they've made from their bonus times the tax rate. So their bonus times the tax rate. Now, in this case, I don't want that. I want this J8 to change to J9 to J10 and so on as I go down, but I want the C3 to be the same the whole time. So I'm going to do F4 again, and it puts the $signs in front, making that an absolute. I can now copy that on down, and I have my values there. Now it's not really very good because, well, this should be dollars. I'm getting, 4 decimal places, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'm going to take all of these dollar ones here, come to my home tab, and I can format them as either accounting or currency. It doesn't matter. So we'll just make them counting. Now what happened here is that these numbers that are trying to fit in here are too large, and I can fix that really quick. Coming up here to the top of my chart, and if I double click on the line in between up here, it'll automatically auto fit those, so it'll fit the largest number in there. So you see I've got those done. I can format my table somewhat. I'll highlight here, take this across to where I want it to be, come to home and I can merge and center. Then I can put some color behind it, nice gray, make it bold, make it a little larger, and do the same thing here for the second title. Come to home, merge and center, bold, pick some colors, and so on. So you can follow up. Doesn't matter. You can make it look better than the one I have. The average bonus down here is going to be equals to the, now I could use auto sum here, auto average, but if I do that, well, first of all, I'm going to calculate my totals here. So I've got my totals across the bottom here, and I can get those real quick. Remember, we had the auto sum, and I can just say sum. Bang, you notice those all didn't fit all of a sudden, so I've got to auto fit them. So they all show. That got a little big. Oh, because of the size of that there. So we don't really need to have that be that big. A little bigger. And keep going, auto size these, and we get them all set. Now the average here is going to be the sum of all these, but not this last one. So what I would do would be to put an equal sign, and then I could say the average, open parentheses, and then highlight the range of numbers that I want to do, not including that total at the bottom. And that gives me my average bonus. So I've gone through and I've solved it. Now I finally have to get this total sales chart here. And you'll notice the chart has got the sales number, the total sales, and the names. So it's important to highlight what you want to put in a chart before you do the chart. So what I want is I want the salesperson's name. I'm going to just drag down over the sales. I don't want the totals because that would skew my chart. Now, if I was going to highlight the next column and so on, I could just do shift or just drag over it. But if I want to get another column, I'm going to hold the control key down now and highlight total sales. Take that down, making sure I get exactly the same number of rows as I had before. Come up to insert, and now I can insert a chart of some kind. Oh, I think I have a bar chart for this, and or do I have a pie chart? Doesn't matter, but yeah. So there, I've got a chart. Corresponds pretty close to this. I could fix it up, move it around, change it. They do a lot of that in the book, and you're doing a lot of that in the assignments. But there's my chart essentially. Second thing we're going to do here is PMT. This is an important function to understand. It'll allow you to calculate what the monthly payments would be for a particular whatever you're going to buy. In this case, it's a boat. So in this case, I've got the cost of boat and a down payment. So if I'm going to borrow money for it, I'm not going to borrow the whole $150,000. I'm going to borrow the $150,000 less the $15,000 cash I'm making as a down payment. So now I can use a PMT formula. You can get your formulas up here, or you can type them in. There's lots of ways to do it, lots more than one way to do it. And it's a financial formula I'm looking for. And the one I want is PMT right here. And when I do it that way, it comes up with this nice box I can fill in. And I want my rate. Well, my rate is here, but you notice that's an annual rate. I want a monthly payment. So I want to divide that by 12, and that gives me my monthly rate, which is what I'm looking for. My number of payments, I'm going to pay once a month for 5 years. So I've got to take this, and I've got to multiply that times 12, and that'll tell me 60 payments per year. The PV is the amount I'm borrowing. So my amount I'm borrowing is the $135,000. So And again, it's not too big to fit there. And this will show in red. You can make it a positive if you want by just coming up here and putting a minus sign in front of it, because the minus of the minus is a positive. So that's how much you'd be paying per month for 5 years to get that boat. Third one here is VLOOKUP. We don't do this one in the book, but this is an important thing to be able to do. So we have a student here, and we want to know what their grade is from this table. We know for Krusty got 100, Lisa got 99, Sideshow Bob got 32. So there's a way we can use a formula, and again, I can get it up here, or I could type it in. This time I'm going to type it in. VLOOKUP, there it is. As soon as I did the 2, double click on it, and I can either type the values in there, or I could press FX, and I could just the FX up here, and that'll bring up one of those boxes. Now the lookup value, it's for each row here, so I'm going to look up for Krusty first. I'm going to look up 100, and I'm going to look it up in this table here, and I'm going to absolute that table. Remember how to do that. So I'm going to do function F4, puts the dollar signs in front, and the value I want returned happens to be in column 2 of that table. Here's column 1, column 2. I'm going to return that letter grade, so I'm going to say 2. And so Krusty got an A. Now because I did absolute this, I can copy this formula down, and we can see that Sideshow Bob did not do so well, but the rest of them we have. So that's VLOOKUP, a very powerful formula. Now here's an extra credit for you if you would like. So what we would have here would be a formula again, only a logical formula. So in this case, I would want the if. And my question is, I have it here, use an if statement to build the statement. If temperature is less than 21, no ski today. So again, row by row you solve this. If whatever the temperature is in that row is less than 21, then no ski. Otherwise, ski. And I don't need any absolute here because I'm only referring to that temperature. I can drag that on down, and there's our solution. So here's the if statement. So those are powerful. You can color those in just as we did before. Highlight that, go to home, merge in center, put some color in there, make it larger, make the font white, all kinds of things you can do playing with that. Make it bigger. I could get carried away and do this all day. Okay, but that's how to do the quiz.